All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the first official non-draft episode of the 2-5 podcast. Yes, we're going to keep the pun in the title. I think it's fun and unique, and maybe not that unique, maybe not even that original, but I think it's fun. And if you don't like puns, too bad. Okay, so I'm going to kind of repeat myself a little bit if you listen to the first two rough draft episodes. So this may be repeated information, but thank you if you did listen to those first two episodes. So my name's John Henrick. I'm your host, and the whole purpose of this podcast is to kind of help increase my web presence. I recently published a website using Squarespace. It's a great website. The URL is johnhenrickmusic.com. You can go check that out. The email subscribe part of the website isn't working just yet. I need to save up some cash to get that working. But other than that, I believe everything on the website is functioning. If something isn't working, please let me know. Social media or something, all that contact information is on the website. And I would love your feedback because this new website thing was pretty new to me. And as easy as Squarespace is to use, I'm only human. I'm sure I missed something in there, so yeah. The point of the podcast is to increase my web presence, kind of let people know my thoughts. And I'm going to speak with confidence on this podcast because I feel like that's how people should talk. But I don't mean to speak in a way that steps on anyone's toes or in a way to... I don't want anyone to think I'm saying I'm better or worse than anyone else. I'm just going to talk about my thoughts, and that's all they are. They're thoughts and opinions. They're not facts. And if you have a private teacher who disagrees with me, then that's fine. If you have a private teacher who's saying to do something else, then listen to them. I'm just I'm a jazz grad student at Texas State, but I think my thoughts are valid and my experiences are valid, but more so, this podcast is just going to be kind of me talking about my experience in jazz, what's going on with music. I hope to eventually maybe have guests. I only have one microphone right now. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. I'm not using an old headset anymore, so the buzz or the hum in the background should be eliminated a little bit more. I'm using this really affordable microphone that I found on Amazon through a friend. It's Fifine, F-I-F-I-N-E. It's a microphone on Amazon. I think it was like $30 or $40, and very affordable, and honestly way higher quality than I expected. So that's great. Might invest in a second one of these if I need one, because I do want to bring in other people from Texas State, local music in the San Marcos and Austin area, and I want to be able to have conversations, and if that means I need to buy a second mic, then I'll buy a second mic. So yeah, that's kind of an overview of the podcast. It's just going to be talking about music, mostly jazz, kind of how I'm experiencing stuff, what's going on with me, my thoughts, and maybe some venting every now and then, who knows. But I think this will be a good way for me to increase my online presence and not just be some random account on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. Okay, so let's talk about some stuff that happened to me yesterday. Yesterday, I went to the local jazz jam here in San Marcos, Texas. It's at a restaurant bar, kind of a new venue called Industry. And it was a lot of fun. I was asked to play in the house band by my friend Michael, and I had a lot of fun playing in the house band. It was kind of chilly, and so not a lot of horn players came out. There was like 6 or 7 drum set players, which usually there's not as many of those. So the drums got to rotate quite a bit. But there was only one other horn player who was just a killer saxophone player. I play saxophone, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that at the beginning. So I got a little bit of a break, but I'd say I played maybe 2/3. It was a 3-hour jam. I maybe played 2/3 of it. The other saxophone and I did some duo sax stuff, which was really fun. But the whole reason I'm bringing this up is the importance of playing with other musicians and going to jams and other things like that. I remember when I was an undergrad, I was not a jazz major. I did my undergrad at Texas State in music education, which means I was part of a classical saxophone studio. But I did everything I could to participate in the jazz area while I was doing my undergrad. I did jazz band, I did jazz combo for a couple semesters. I took lessons from a grad student named Jerry Espinoza. Shout out to Jerry. He's now teaching privately at A&M Kingsville. Great tenor saxophonist, great alto saxophonist, great teacher. And he gave me a large majority of the fundamental that I came to grad school with. So anyway, during my undergrad, when I was primarily doing classical, didn't really have a large grasp, not that I do now, but I had an even smaller grasp on jazz. I was always really afraid to play with other people, and I was afraid to play, even more afraid to play for people. So I kind of just stayed in a practice room. And I think it was James Morrison. He's a multi-instrumentalist, really great guy. Check him out on Spotify or something. Who said, I think it was him, he said, if you're only practicing in practice rooms and you're only doing that, then you're just practicing to get good at practice. And you need to go out and you need to perform to get good at performing, because that's the whole point, right? We're all learning this music to play for other people, and we're learning it to express ourselves through the jazz genre, through improvisation. And if we don't ever get out and actually play, at least with other musicians, then we're only getting good at practicing. Now, I'm not saying don't practice, and I'm not saying only practice a little bit. You need to practice a lot, but you should have a priority on playing at least with other jazz musicians in a room somewhere. If you can't do live, if you're not getting gigs, that's okay, but you need to be playing with other living people, not just iReal or Learn Jazz Standards or whatever backing track you're using. So yeah, go to a jazz jam, start a jazz jam. There's a large thing that I've kind of encountered, and I felt this way too, where it's like, I'm not ready to play gigs yet. I'm sorry if you can hear this dog barking outside. You know, a lot of people say, I don't think I'm ready for gigs yet. I don't think I'm ready yet. It's not going to go well. I only know a couple No, just go out there and get some stuff together. If you really don't think you're ready and the thought of playing for a small crowd just mortifies you, then just, you know, either at a house, maybe not an apartment because sound levels can get you in trouble, but maybe a room at your school, at your university, get with 2 other people, you know, regardless of instrumentation, and just start playing tunes. Play tunes you all know, play tunes you don't know, whip out some lead sheets if you need to, you know. If you're learning music and you really feel like you don't have a grasp on stuff, don't be afraid of the real book. You know, I know the real book in some places gets a bad rap, you know, but you have to start somewhere. You can't just know every tune in every key with all the changes and alternate changes right off the bat. You have to start somewhere, so don't be afraid to get with people, get some lead sheets passed around, even if it's tunes you know. If you need that, I'm just now getting to the point where I'm playing a majority of my gigs off of paper, like not reading off, like there is no paper, like it's all the sounds are in my head and I'm listening to the ensemble. Don't be afraid to be reading music, you know, because you need to, you learn so much by playing with other musicians and playing for other people that you need to do that. So if there is a local jazz jam, that's a really great way to play for other people in a low pressure environment, because you're probably only going to play 1 or 2 tunes. And if you really are that afraid of playing for your peers and for an audience, that's probably all you're going to want to do. And you have the option of bringing in your 1 or 2 best tunes. So if you have a week If you have 2 weeks, really spend your time in the shed on those tunes and go have a good experience at the jazz jam, and that will kind of build your confidence. I remember, so I've only been gigging for not even a year. I had my first real gig with a band in late July. Yeah, like right at the end of the month of July in 2018. And it wasn't even a straight up jazz combo gig. It was kind of this brass band thing. And most of my solos were just kind of one chord pentatonic based stuff. But shortly after that, I did get a jazz gig, and it was just me and a piano player, Peyton White, who plays in my group, the John Henrick Project, small jazz quartet or trio. He's a great guy. You can follow him on Instagram. I believe it's at Paint in White. It's kind of like a play on words with his name. Anyway, great keyboard player. I'm so happy he jumped in with me, because originally it was just going to be me and Ireel at a bar. And man, I was nervous for that. So I'm really glad he jumped in and played with me there. Oh, actually, before that, I played a gig I sat in with a jazz combo at a winery. Yeah, that's what happened. I hadn't played a jazz gig before, outside of Texas State. And I got asked to come play a 2-hour jazz gig with some other jazz majors. Keep in mind, I hadn't technically started grad school for jazz yet, so I was still in this really nervous classical mentality. And get this, the gig was a week from, I had a wisdom teeth removal appointment thing planned, and the gig was the week right after. So not only have I not played a jazz gig before, but I need to learn all these tunes that I'm not familiar with. And I can't practice that whole week because I got a lot of holes in my mouth because my teeth are gone. So, quick side note, listen to jazz, because I would not have been able to hang during that gig at all if I had not been just in the headphones on Spotify, different playlists and stuff. Anyway, kind of getting on a tangent here. Man, where did I start with this? I know we were talking about the importance of playing. Oh, it goes back to you're more ready than you think you are, right? So I did that gig. Did I play the best stuff I've ever played before? No. Did I probably mess up changes? Yes. Did I survive the experience? Yeah. Yeah, it was great. All those guys are really friendly who I played with. We're all still friends. We all still play together. But what it did was it kind of I don't think I would not classify myself as 100% ready for that winery gig after my wisdom teeth got removed. But I kind of showed myself that I was more ready than I thought, and that 100% ready isn't really realistic, and I can rely on my fundamental musicality to help get me through tunes I'm not familiar with, and to help me propel through tunes I am familiar with. So long story short, start playing with other musicians. For people, ideally, because you really learn a lot from playing for an audience. It's kind of hard to put into words, but something about playing for people who are only listening to you. They're not playing another instrument themselves. They're literally just listening to you. You just kind of learn stuff from that experience. But the sooner you can start playing with other musicians and for people, the better. I think that you learn a lot on stage, stuff you can't learn in a practice room. I think that's pretty much factual information. You learn a lot playing in a band on stage that you just can't learn by yourself with a metronome or backing track or whatever. So go to a jazz jam. If there isn't a jazz jam, start a jazz jam, because they're really good opportunities not only to play, but they're great opportunities to network with other jazz musicians in your area. I made friends with a couple of musicians at the jam I went to last night. That saxophone player I mentioned, we're buds now. I look forward to playing with him again. His name is Ismael, I think it was Chavez. Anyway, he was really great. And this drummer named Chris, who I'd seen previously but hadn't really played with, kind of got to know him a little bit better. So now I know 2 more musicians. And are we ever gonna play gigs together? I don't know. But he's someone in the network, and it's just good to have those connections. It only helps you. Even if you never play with that person again, it only helps you to be friendly and get more people in your web of musicians. There isn't a lot of jazz in general right now, at least, not to say it's dead, but, thinking about 50, 60 years ago, there isn't as much jazz now, so we all kind of need to stick together, be friendly, stuff like that. Yeah. So, go to a jam. Get people together in an ensemble room. Do whatever. I think, was it last Thursday? I went to a jam that was just at my friend's house. There wasn't an audience, and there was kind of a large ensemble there. Of course, there was no pay. It was just a hangout. But it was really, really fun being able to take some standards, we'd kind of play through them, and then we would talk about what we could do to kind of do a mini arrangement, and then we play it again, and it would either work or it wouldn't work. And it was really cool to be able to kind of have this free-form jam/rehearsal, really work on tunes we don't know. And in that case, it's really good to not have an audience because you can really try things and experiment. And I really had a lot of fun with that. I'm hoping there will be more of those scenarios in the coming weeks. So yeah, you need to play for people. I don't really know what else to talk about. I guess, there's plenty of things to talk about, but I need to get better at kind of the stream of consciousness thing, because now my mind's going blank, and it's only been 17 minutes. So I may cut it short. I guess I just kind of want to recap a little bit about me, since this is the official first episode. My name is John Henrick. I did my undergrad at Texas State Music Ed, meaning I came from a classical saxophone background, balanced jazz as much as I could through that, took some improv courses, did different ensembles, took lessons from a grad student. Now, I'm in the 2nd semester of doing jazz for my master's degree at Texas State, studying with Russell Haight, a great saxophonist, great teacher. And I'm doing everything I can to play gigs, I can't say it enough. You learn so much playing for people, and you learn so many things you can't learn in a practice room. It just really, if anything else, it at least boosts your confidence. So, it's a great thing to be doing that. Okay, time for some shameless plugs. You can check out my website at johnhenrickmusic.com. There's a lot more contact information on the website itself. Let me see if I can remember my handles off the top of my head. On Instagram, I am john.henrick.saxophone, I believe. Or you could probably just search my name. I don't really know a lot of John Henricks. I also have one for my combo. It's not really a fleshed out account yet, but JHP Jazz stands for John Henrick Project Jazz on Instagram and Twitter. I'm John Henrick 96 on Twitter. All this stuff is way more laid out in a logical way on my website if you want to check it out there. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. This is the first official episode. Hopefully I can get a little intro thing together, and it's probably just going to be an audio podcast for now, but I'm going to try to find a way to put it on YouTube and maybe Spotify. I need to look into all that stuff. But for now, I'm going to put this on SoundCloud. And then if I can get this mic situation worked out, hoping to have guests on soon, which will make the format a little bit longer. You won't have to hear my voice that is rapidly drying out for as long. But thank you for listening to this episode of the 2-5 podcast. Thank you for listening to the rough draft episodes. Those were very rough drafts if you listen to those. Yeah, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun with this format, and hope you guys have a great day. Go practice, but more importantly, go play with other people, ideally 4 people. It is never too early to start performing. I believe I said that correctly. You're never going to be 100% ready, so you might as well just go. Good experience or bad, you'll learn from both. Okay, anyways, this is 2-5 Podcast, episode 1. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop talking now. Goodbye.